Okay, good morning. It's time to call to order the Franklin County Board of County Commissioners meeting for Wednesday, February the 7th. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Howard?
Present.
Commissioner Waymire?
Present.
Chair Renaud?
Present.
Vice Chair Oglesby? Commissioner Dunn?
If you would, please stand with us and join in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by our invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, we come to you today, and Lord, we just ask that we would be led by you today, God, in everything that we look at, everything that we decide upon, God, that we continue to walk with the servant's heart, the servant leadership as our motto, God, that everything that we do, God, is not about us, but God, about the people of this county, that we might represent them and do the best for this county and the people that live here to better their lives and to better those that work here as well, Father. And everything that we ask, God, we just give you the praise this morning. Amen.
Okay, correspondence, organizational business. Anything, Derek? Okay, I see Angie's not here. Public comment. Do we have somebody for public comment?
We do. Norman Woogie?
Okay, a citizen desiring to speak on an item not on the agenda may do so at this time. Discussion limited to 5 minutes. The commission will not take action or discuss items at this time. Discussion should be limited to matters of county commission business, and public comment is not permitted in regard to personnel matters or on pending legal matters. Items introduced under public comment may become agenda items at a later date. Mr. Woogie?
Norman Woogie, 3790 Pawnee Road. My batteries went down, so I can't hear you. I'm sorry. I wasn't invited here today, but my comments are, I'm sure you guys can connect the dots. I'm here to give the commission opinion. That's a newsflash. I've lived many years and gained a lot of experience over the years of my life. The most valuable experience that my wife and I lived through was being confined in ICU in different facilities. Both of us were expected to die. But I've seen a scary with all combined stays of 8 times. The main root of the problem was the people worked 12 hours a day. That's too long. Way too long. I've worked 12 hours a day and seen many others work those long hours. When I worked those hours, things happened in my life, and my friends the same. Falling asleep behind the wheel several times, and also meeting vehicles that people have fallen asleep or something and having to exit the road. Falling asleep at work and not being on the job on time. Fortunately, I had friends that covered for me. Lack of sleep, sleep deprivation, that's what a lot of the kids they have in school. And it causes personality change. The long hours tend to make fellow employees too friendly with each other. 5, my mind would wander away from my duties. 6, 10, people tend to play on a job, sometimes rough. The family life is neglected, and the divorce increases manyfold. In one department, you wouldn't believe all the hanky-panky that went on. My stay in the hospital after surgery was a nightmare because of people taking shortcuts. And one of them was, after surgery, there was plastic sheet under my sheet, and I was sweating and the skin felt. I was 2 days in that hospital after major surgery. My worst decisions in my life were made under stress and the long hours. The county has an obligation to the people to provide the best and the safest services they can. 8 hours is enough. And the nice thing about 8 hours, and this is something I noticed while I was in the hospital, that it would have been nice for a third person in there to have sat in there and possibly have seen stuff rather than just the two people that rotated. And employees' health and safety and the family are at risk. I know when I worked those long hours, and I did, I get a little more sensitive. We just deserve better. Thank you very much.
Okay. On a consent agenda today, consider and approve the Franklin County Commission meeting minutes for January 31 and the study session minutes for February 5th. Consider improve the tax change orders in the amount of a negative $6,728.58. Have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make the motion.
Motion second.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Commissioner Waymire?
Yes.
Commissioner Oglesby?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn? Chair Renaud.
Yes. Okay, our first item for business, consider for approval rezoning application 1711-1551.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. As you've indicated, this is a request to rezone approximately 5 acres from an A1 agricultural zoning district to the RE residential estate zoning district. The purpose of this would be to allow for the division of that 5 acres for sale and the construction of a new residence. I think the aerial photo is attached as a part of your staff report depicts the proposed boundaries of the 5-acre tract quite adequately. The Planning Commission considered this at their meeting last month and have forwarded a recommendation to you for the approval of the rezoning and to direct staff to amend the official county zoning map accordingly. I have nothing further to add unless any of you have questions.
Okay, any questions for Larry on this application? If not, I'd look for a motion then to approve the application zoning application 1711-1551.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the rezoning application 1711-1551.
Commissioner Waymire?
Yes.
Commissioner Oglesby?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn? Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Chair Renaud.
Yes. Okay,
Thank you.
sir. Our second item on the agenda, consider offering a dust control program, approving the application form, soliciting bids. Jim?
Good morning, Commissioners. Annually, the department has offered a dust control program. Soliciting bids for the application of magnesium chloride is required by the purchasing policy. The request is a motion authorizing a dust control program, approving the application form, soliciting bids for the application of magnesium chloride solution, and waiving the publication requirement.
Jim, I have one question. We've done this every year since I've been on here anyway. How many bids do we normally get?
Last year was 91. Oh, bids, one.
Just normally one bid every year?
One.
Is there any other products out there, Jim, that you know about that do the same job?
Well, there are some communities that use beet juice. I've not had any experience with that. When I was in Iowa, there was tree sap that was offered by the local co-op, that a lignin product. It wasn't as effective, in my opinion, as the magnesium chloride. Problem with beet juice, it's sweet and it tends to attract domestic animals out on the road, which is not something you want to accomplish. Beet ju-
Approximately how many people had used this
Last year, I believe there were 91.
91? Did we have any issues from any of them complaining about the quality of it or anything?
The only issues I recall pertaining to dust control pertain to the co-op, and we talked about it and the increased traffic from that, but that was more, I think that conflict was more about where we were going to put the dust control, not the effectiveness of it. So, no, and Jim, feel free to chime in, but they don't reach me if we're getting complaints, so.
Is there any way we could word the proposal to ask for any other products? Just, still get our magnesium chloride bid, but
We can,
open to other suggestions, pricing, kind of like we do on the chip seal. We, for years, had the CMK and the crushed limestone. Just not knowing what that other one would be, but imagine too, where you are in the country, like you say, some places, if you have tree sap, if you're in Colorado, you may have more beets or,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we'd get more companies to bid if there's a wider range of materials that could be acceptable. I don't know. And in regard to, Rick, your question, the only comments I've had from constituents was not blading it up too soon in the fall. You know, we have a date when we can go do that, and a lot of them would like for us not to do that, but sometimes the road conditions dictate we need to blade the road anyway, so we do. But I don't think I've ever had a complaint about the ineffectiveness of the material, other than they thought they were getting 2 applications that year when we did them back to back. That was a question once, but other than that, I don't know.
We moved to that to be consistent with most of the other counties.
And Colt, to speak to your question, I'm looking at this bid form. I think we could pretty easily amend it, contemplating other possibilities and perhaps,
make it known that we're open to suggestions.
yeah, I think we can do that.
Okay. Anything else? If not, then maybe a motion to approve the application for bids with this idea that we would also include alternative products for that.
Make the motion.
Okay, we've had a motion and a second then to accept the application form with the addition of alternative product.
Commissioner Oglesby?
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn? Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Commissioner Waymire? Chair Renaud.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Jim. Staff reports. Derek, you want to go first?
Don't
Larry, anything else? Nope. Joy, Jim, Janet? Okay. Commissioner comments.
I'll go ahead and start. Monday, I attended Williamsburg City Council meeting. Some of their new business, they talked about rocks on the streets. They talked about putting some banners up on Main Street to improve the looks of Main Street. They came up with a new form for job description form, and they wanted all of them to take it home and look at it and see if they wanted to make any changes on it. They're going to redesign their Williamsburg website, and they discussed that a little bit, and they talked about cleanup day around the shelter house and the waterway that they've been working on. And then yesterday, I attended the RC&D meeting. Larry, correct me if I got his name wrong. Our guest speaker was Ryan, is it Nisus or Nisus? Nisus. He's from the Ecotone Forestry, and he talked to us about the different projects that they have going throughout the state and federal projects that are going on. Also talked about a workshop. It's going to be a prescribed burn workshop in Paola, and what it's about is for people to have timberland or whatever want to burn it. They're going to have a workshop showing them how to do that the right way, and also discuss whether their timberland needs burn or not. Talked about an update with the partnership with Project 17. Talked briefly about state meeting in Texas and whether Don may go and attend that, and had an update on feeding the hungry. And that was most of that, and that's all I've been to.
haven't attended any meetings. Just a comment I got on the building department was that from somebody, and they answer, or a few people, they're friendly. They're open to trying to help folks through, find alternatives, not just a straight no. If if there's regulation or something that's in the way, well, how can we address this and still find a way forward? Just general good customer service. That's something I shared with them this morning. Like I say, it's a comment I got from a few people since our last meeting, and good
Good.
things deserve recognition. So.
Right. Rick? Boy? Last Wednesday night, I attended the Wellsville City Council meeting. They had a presentation there of a housing project. Had something to do with government funding, and then people, after they rent a house so long, could go in and actually purchase the home. The investors, the group presenting this, were asking for a letter of endorsement from the city, and it was actually voted down on a 2-3 vote. Then we had a treasurer's report from their auditor and an update. Then Monday night, I went to the Rantoul City Council meeting and discussed a lot of things, mostly to do with bids on the roof. They hired a clerk. Discussed a couple of the well situations and well houses, and they've had state people down. They discussed their 4th of July event coming up. A couple other comments over their new personnel that's on there, and they seem to be doing well. And in fact, they received a comment from the audience complimenting them on being very civil in their meeting and had a fairly good thing. Yesterday morning, Derek and I were at the FCDC Executive Board meeting. A very short meeting, just an update and stuff. But one question James mentioned was that if the quarterly reports we get are not detailed enough or too detailed, he'd like to know that, make sure that he's giving us what we want to hear. But if it's stuff we don't want to hear, we already know, then let him know that as well. So any comments you guys have about that, why, be sure and give them to Derek, and he can forward them on to James and let him know that. But other than that, I don't know, Derek, unless you have anything else to add about that meeting.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is one of the ideas that's being kicked around is having someone from KCADC come down who has kind of seen a development park from the very beginning all the way through, to come down and just educate the commissions as well as the public about what to expect from that process, so that people's expectations are, I know we sometimes get questions about Proximity Park and how it's coming along, and I suspect when asphalt starts getting laid, I mean, the expectation is really going to be, why don't we have, a company in there, and that could happen. I mean, we could get that, or it could take time, but just having someone come down and kind of set those expectations. So that's something that could very well happen in the next month or two. And so I think that's it.
Okay. Any other comments? If not, then I would consider a motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
Okay, everybody in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.